When Russian people hear me speak Russian the first time, often they're like, а русский язык не твой родной язык? Или твои родители, они русские? Или хотя бы твоя мама русская? And I always replied that no, I'm a foreigner who learned Russian. And I think there are a couple of reasons why my Russian sounds so much like a native speaker. And the first one is that my pronunciation is good. Second reason is because I just spent a lot of time learning the language and a lot of time speaking with Russian people. And during that times, I just emulated the way they speak so that my speech is basically the same way as a native speaker. But the third thing is also that I just avoid a lot of little mistakes that many other foreigners make that instantly give away the fact that they're foreigners who are learning Russian. And in this video, I want to talk about 7 of those mistakes that many foreigners make that instantly gives away that they're not a native speaker. Давайте начнем. So the first hack that I use a lot in the beginning when my Russian cases weren't that good is that I kind of unemphasize the endings of nouns. And what I mean by this, let me give you a simple example. For example, I want to say, I bought flowers for my grandma. You can say, я купил бабушке цветы. That's the correct way to say it, like бабушке цветы. Like you buy for grandma flowers. But if you're unsure if you should use the dative case or the genitive case here, like for example, бабушке или бабушки, then you can say it quickly, like я купил бабушке цветы. Did you hear if I said babushke or babushki? It's very difficult to hear that unless you're like very much paying attention to that. But in the end, it's completely obvious that I meant that I bought flowers for my grandma. And even if it's like babushki цветы, like, I bought flowers of my grandma, then still people are going to ask like, oh, what exactly did you mean? But if you just, in many cases, just kind of skip the ending and just quickly go to the next word, you can get away with making mistakes in cases and most people will not really hear it. Now you might think this is cheating. I don't want to do that. I want to speak everything perfectly well. But if you listen to Russian people speaking, they're also quite often kind of like muffling away the endings and just continuing quickly to go to the next word. It's not super articulated. So this is something that makes your speech more like a native speaker. And also people are less likely to notice mistakes. So this is a very big thing, especially if your cases are not completely correct all the time yet. If you want to improve your Russian a lot in the next 30 days, check out my 30-day conversational Russian challenge, link in the description. This challenge will help you learn to speak conversational Russian in the next 30 days. The second hack is to stop articulating words very well. Let me give you an example. Okay, look at my mouth. While I'm speaking English, you can see that my mouth is moving up and down quite a lot, and my teeth especially are not touching each other all the time. They're just moving around as well. Often there's some distance in between my teeth when I need to say a specific vowel. With Russian, it's the other way around. If you speak Russian, you need to keep your teeth very close to each other all the time, so you don't tend to articulate very well. Let me now just say some stuff in Russian so you can kind of see that. I'll move up a little bit better. Если я сейчас говорю по-русски, вы видите, что мои зубы не очень много двигаются, потому что русский язык, там в основном губы двигаются, а рот остается в том же положении. I hope you saw that. Kind of what happened there is that my teeth, they just kind of stay together because in Russian, compared to many other Western languages, it's not a language where you really pronounce everything perfectly well. It's very much like a not super articulated language. And you can see that in the way your teeth move. So for you, try to not move your teeth all the time. Try to not like, когда я говорю по-русски, не делайте вот этого. Like, with opening your mouth all the time. Try to keep it relatively closed. The third hack is a little bit more complicated than the previous two, and it's concerning the word to have. In Russian classes, you likely learned that if you want to say, I have a new car, you say, у меня есть новая машина. But the thing is, есть here can be actually omitted, because in this specific phrase, the emphasis is on the fact that it's a new car. So you can say, у меня новая машина. And actually, in many cases, you can just skip the есть, and that will make it more clear. Like you say more useful words with less words. You just omit the redundant words. And in some cases, even if you say есть, like у меня есть, it's actually false. You cannot say that. Like for example, I have a meeting at 9. У меня есть встреча в 9. That's incorrect. You need to say у меня встреча в 9 because встреча is something like, out there. It's not something physical that you can grasp. Есть most of the time has to be used with some sort of like physical things. And only if you really want to emphasize that they're there. For example, like someone asks, like you're standing in front of a door and they're asking, у тебя есть ключ? Like, you know, emphasizing the fact that do you have the key to open this door? But only then. So in general, try to omit есть and only use it when you really want to emphasize the fact that it's there. The fourth hack to sound more like a native speaker is that sometimes with objects that you cannot count, like that are incountable, you can use the genitive case. Let me give you a simple example. If someone asks you if you want some water, вы хотите воды? Whereas you think, хотеть is like a verb that uses the accusative case. So it should be correct to say, вы хотите воду? Because, you know, вода should be an accusative case. But since it's like something uncountable, you can say воды. It's kind of like, do you want some water? And this can also go for many other things. Like if you want to ask someone, do you want some bread? Instead of asking, вы хотите хлеб, which is like an accusative case, you ask, вы хотите хлеба? You want some bread. And this is something that I recommend you don't do this completely in the beginning because people think that you're messing up the cases. But once you've started to speak Russian a little bit better, you can start playing around with this because you'll notice that Russians, most of the time in these situations with incountable objects, they also use the genitive case instead of the accusative case. The fifth thing to watch out for in Russian is that Russian has double negations. Like if in English you would say, I have never been in Russia. You just say never. Like comparing I have been in Russia and I have never been in Russia. You just add one negation. In Russian is the other way around because if you say я был в России, then it's like, okay, I've been to Russia. And if you want to say I have never been in Russia, я никогда не был в России. Like you add a double negation. The sixth hack is a little bit more of a meta hack. It's that you want to be speaking the most common used phrases that Russian also speak. And then here I'm mainly talking about, like for example, if I'm speaking Russian, I tend to, whenever I have like a little pause, I say ну or как-то. Like those little phrases that Russian people also use when they're kind of like searching for like the right word to say. Now, the best way to practice this is to simply listen to a lot of correct Russian and to speak to a lot of Russian people. And the easiest way to do that is just watch Russian TV series every single night for like half an hour. If you do this for a couple of months, you will just hear like exactly how the correct speech is going, and you will automatically start kind of mirroring what they're saying. You will just, like, good input means good output. So if you just make sure that all the time you get correct Russian, like correct spoken Russian into your ears, into your brain, then you will also mean that, you know, if you do this long enough, you will have the same good output. Now, one thing I want you to really watch out with this is, I'll give you an example. Whenever I'm around Russian people who swear a lot, like, you know, they always say the swearing words, I'm not going to repeat them here because they're not too nice. Then I also find myself, whenever I try to speak, that I also want to say swear words very often. And then I really need to kind of like stop myself while speaking, like, no, don't say these swear words because, you know, the more you, exactly like the thing is, whatever is your input will be your output. So make sure you don't listen too much to Russian stuff that has a lot of swear words. Listen to correct spoken Russian. And the last seventh hack that can really, in a short period of time, improve your Russian a lot, that makes it sound a lot better, is to simply record yourself speaking and then listen to it. I never did this in the first couple of years of me learning Russian. I don't know why I did this, but once I started doing this by making YouTube videos on my other channel in Russian, I very quickly found out like, oh, I make all these mistakes, and it wasn't that I didn't know how to correct these mistakes. It was just that I didn't know that I was making those mistakes. Or for example, I realized that some specific letters, like the мягкий L, like the soft L, I was saying incorrectly. And just hearing the mistakes that I was making just made it instantly, I could very quickly just make those mistakes better. And there were plenty of little things that I was saying that instantly gave away that I was a non-native speaker. And I just realized that, oh, if all I do is like, you know, say these letters a little bit different or stop saying this specific word, then I'm gonna sound a lot better. And an easy way for you to do this is take a text somewhere online that you also have the speech from, like another YouTube video where someone has a transcript of a native speaker speaking something, and then just speak the transcript, whatever this person is saying, or speak the text, and then record it. And then afterwards, just compare what you are saying to what the native speaker is saying. And then you see where it's different, so you can focus on those things. It's a very simple exercise. It's a little bit you know, it's a little bit difficult to hear yourself speak Russian, but it's something that is very important if you want to sound like a native speaker. Спасибо вам огромное за просмотр и до свидания.